You're officially invited to join the inner circle of top leaders from all over the country. Listen and learn as these obsessed entrepreneurs reveal the secrets that led to their success. Welcome to the community. Today's episode starts now.
What is up, everybody? It is Travis, and welcome to the community. I'm really pumped about today. I've built Alan on here, 7-figure flipping, and we've been a part of his coaching before and crushed it. And I'm excited to have some conversations. It's been too long that we haven't talked. But how are you doing, Bill?
I'm doing great. That intro was awesome. I need like a fancy intro for my show. It's really,
I feel like every time I listen to it, it's like I was trying to go with "Ain't No Rest for the Wicked." I was trying to get something similar, and I was like, was in my head, and so my content guy came up with that, and I was like, oh, it's actually pretty good.
Nice.
So yeah, yes, I appreciate it. How's business going? I know it's like everyone's with the interest rates and things like that. So I'm excited to talk to you a little bit about that. And kind of the flipping business. I know you do a lot more than just the flipping, but tell me a little bit. Let's start maybe a little bit back farther. I know you were a pilot and you were in the Navy. Tell me a little bit, how'd you get started in the real estate space?
Yeah, well, if we go back really far, when I was in college, I did ROTC, got a scholarship at Georgia Tech to go in the Navy afterwards. And I had a commanding officer that said he bought a house in every duty station that he ever lived in and never lost money. And so when I heard that, I was like, wow, because I always interested in like turning $1 into $2 and investing and things like that. So that kind of was like in the back of my mind. But then I went on to basically rent everywhere that I lived for the next, like, let's see, I went from there to Ohio. I lived in Ohio for a year, rented there. And then I went to Pensacola. I was there for 9 months, rented there. I went to Corpus Christi, Texas for 9 months, rented there. Went back to Pensacola for another 9 months, rented there. And then I went to San Diego and I bought a house. It was really a 600 square foot condo, like a 1-bedroom, 1-bath condo for $385,000 in 2006. So it was a block from the beach, though. It was awesome. And that was my first kind of like intro to rental property effectively. I would get deployed. So I was in San Diego flying helicopters, go on deployment, and then I'd have somebody else rent out the space while I was gone. And actually, in fact, when I came back from my first deployment, I didn't have a place to live. Like somebody was living in my house, I rented it out, and I had to go live somewhere else. So that's kind of how that worked. And then I went to Pensacola after that, bought a house, fixed it up, rented it when I left. Then I went to England for a year. While I was in England, I bought a house in Maryland, rented that out, fixed it up when I got back, rented that out. And then I just kind of kept doing that for a while. And then I flipped a house. I had a realtor say, I was buying a rental. She said, hey, you could flip this and make a lot of money. And so I was like, okay, let's try that. And we flipped it, made $43,000 in 6 months. And that was a half my salary, like totally changed the game. And so I tracked my net worth every single month forever since I was a young kid. And I still have my Excel spreadsheet. What's that?
That's so smart.
Oh, yeah. I want to tell you what, data and numbers. If you're not doing that right now, you're listening to this and you're not doing it, huge mistake. Like you track your net worth, you'll find out. And so I would track my net worth. I put the date. I would have like all my stocks, my bonds, my mutual funds, like my cars, my houses, like everything in there in this sheet, simple Excel spreadsheet that totaled up to a number. And then at the end, I would take like the stocks, the real estate, the other kind of assets or liabilities, however you want to say it, like the cars. And I had a boat and stuff like that. And it was slowly going down in value. The cars would go down in value. So I just run the Kelley Blue Book every month to say what it is. And I take it to another sheet that has a line of like stocks, real estate, liabilities, like all those things, and total up my net worth and debt, like my credit card debt was on there, total up the net worth on the side. And then there's a section for notes. Like, what did I do differently that month? So did I buy a house? Did I sell a house? Did I sell a flip? Did I buy a car? Did I sell my boat? Like, what did I do that month? And it had all my bank accounts too, like any cash that I had in bank accounts. And it's simple. Like, it wasn't like they have all these great apps and things.
Oh, yeah.
It was just super simple. And I like to keep it simple because then I can tell me what my problem is. And so, yeah, when I started like buying these houses and having these rentals, and at first it wasn't a big deal. Like at first, like 1 rental house, 2 rental houses, it wasn't really like changing my net worth. But after a year, I was like, whoa, what? Like my net worth is really growing. What am I doing differently? And it was real estate. I kept coming back to that. It wasn't the trades that I was making. It wasn't stocks or any of that stuff. It was real estate. And so then it started really growing. And I remember like having $1 million net worth on that sheet when I was like think I was like 37, 36, 37, something like that. And it was just a Tuesday. There was no like confetti that went off, no party, none of that stuff. Became a millionaire, right? It's just regular day. And yeah, exactly. That's what it was like. I think
was anyone around to tell? You're looking around, being like, "You guys, I didn't know if you know, no one's around."
Yeah,
okay,
like,
just me.
I'm a millionaire. Like, tell your friends. And it was, but on there, it was very clear that real estate was changing the game. So that was for me. Like, I know it's kind of a long story, but that's when I went all in. I just started liquidating, moving my retirement accounts over to self-directed IRAs and 401ks and stuff like that, and figure out how to play the game differently in real estate. And so that was kind of my story. Started flipping houses. I did like one a year for a couple of years. Then I joined the coaching program, paid $25K, and I did 67 houses in like 8 months, did 135 the next year, 187, built this team. And I was still active duty that whole time. So if somebody's listening, they're like, I have a full-time job, I can't do this. That's not true. That's totally not true. I was flying 10, 12 hours a day and 1 weekend a month. And I was working really hard, had a newborn baby, just married, all this stuff. Like, I didn't have a lot of time. I just, I changed my priorities to do the things that I needed to do, not the things that everybody's doing at this time.
Where were you finding most of your like, cause you were doing a ton, like, were you at the beginning? I think at the beginning, like, we were doing a lot of wholesaling. We found wholesalers, just made a cool network of being like, they went out, got the deal, and they were taking their stuff off the top of it. So we never saw it. I mean, just if the deal made sense. Where were you getting most of your leads from at that time?
Well, so I started as a flipper, and when I was flipping houses, this was in 2013, 2014. I was buying a lot. I was buying at the auction pretty much. So like, there was auction homes around that time. When I went to Pensacola, I bought a lot of my flips from the auction. But the problem I was getting, same thing, like the wholesalers were not, honestly, I didn't really, let's see how I should say this. The wholesalers that I was around locally, I didn't feel like had the right ethics and morals and integrity that I was looking for to work with. And so it wasn't until I joined that coaching program that I met Andy McFarland, who I know you've met and worked with and dealt with. But he was like a volume wholesaler that was in multiple cities and states that had the integrity that I could model and do. And so I said, you know what, like, I should just market for my own deals. So that was in end of 2015, early 2016, I really started doing a lot of direct mail marketing. So it was, and I just did way more than anybody else in my area. Like, the big players were doing like 1,000 mailers a month or something like that. And I just dropped 5,000. Then I just kept reinvesting my money back, because for every dollar I spent, I was making $7 on my direct mail, and I started wholesaling. So I knew that I couldn't flip all these houses. I didn't have the systems and process for flipping. And so I said, I'll try wholesaling. And at the time, I thought wholesaling was like a bad word, and it had a bad taste in my mouth just because of some of the people that I had dealt with. And I wanted to I said, you know what? Let's just change the game. Like, let's change the business. Let's figure out how to do it right. Let's build a brand. Let's build awareness. And I put my logo, it's called Blackjack Real Estate. I put on every single card, forever. Like, I just said, let's build a brand. So even though people are calling us, hating on our mail, getting pissed off that we're putting in the mailbox, they see the logo and they're like, this guy again, this guy again, this guy again.
They know who you are is the branding. They know who you are.
For sure.
Maybe they don't like it.
At one point, we were doing like probably like 55% of the cash transactions in Pensacola were through our company. So yeah, it was really cool.
Crazy. That is crazy. You're just spitting properties out like it was nothing. And that still works full time.
And I was working full time. Yeah. So it was it was my team. And it took me 4.5 months to get my first wholesale deal. So if anybody also is listening to this going, oh yeah, like it was so easy for you in 2016 because of like shooting fish in the barrel. Like, the same kind of issues, problems, things like that. The market, like, I couldn't move the properties. Like, you can move the properties now. It's harder to find the deals, but it's easy to sell them. And back then it was easier to find them and harder to sell them. There just wasn't the demand that we have now. So there's always like, whatever the market is, it's just the market. It doesn't matter what's going on. You just have to figure out your strategy might need to shift based on the market. So tactics will come and go, but like, I really built a foundational company on principles, like the principles that I wanted to put in place for me. And then we picked a strategy, which for me was direct mail at that time, where it's all I did. I didn't like do 10 different marketing channels or 5 like only direct mail. And I just became really good at pulling lists and understanding motivation, and just watching the numbers. So
you're a spreadsheet.
But yeah, I was working hard. Like I was working full time, and it took me 4.5 months. So and I was spending about $5,000 a month. So I was like 22.5 into this with a $30,000 budget going, I'm going to set aside $30,000 to go big. And if it doesn't work, I'll just go back to my day job.
I think, you touched on something which was like, I think it's that instant gratification that people want, but it takes there is no successful person that hasn't gone through it. And that's the thing is they see the result and they go, oh my gosh, well, he had it easy, or he did this, or it was the market at that time, or, his parents, they helped him out. It's like, no matter what, if you're successful, there's a point of hardship that you have to go through. And I think people just want that instant gratification and then they give up, but it's really through the mundane, we always talk about that. It's you just got to keep going. You just got to keep going, because if you do it long enough, you will succeed. But if you give up, you never will.
Yeah. So the only time you lose is if you quit in anything, frankly. But I mean, that's also not to say that you might not want to quit something. Yeah. But be intentional about it. Okay, I don't want to keep doing this, or this is not the direction I want to go. A crazy weird example of this exact concept is 1 year ago. We celebrated today because we just crossed 10,000 followers on Instagram personally for me. And so I started an account a year ago. Okay. Started an account a year ago, and I could take the real estate success and just put it in everything. And so recently, a year ago, I didn't even know how to use the account. I'm an old guy. I'm in my 40s. I grew up on Facebook. I've made a lot of money on Facebook. I understand how Facebook works. And I was like, man, I really hesitant to go Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all that stuff. I just didn't use it. I didn't understand how it worked. And I was like, maybe I missed the boat. But I had to spend a year putting in the work. Last January, I did a class for my content team. And only recently has it, we added 4,000 or 5,000 followers in the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Dang.
So what happened is we put in the work for so long to kind of see what was happening, understand things for over a year. And I'm paying people, I'm paying a team, I'm paying staff, but I know it's going to pay off long-term for me. I'm making deposits right now, making deposits for future success. And people are not willing to make the deposits long enough to hit that kind of growth. We had one that's probably close to $1 million, another one that's $600K, $300K, $500K. And we only have 4,000 subscriber followers, And so these things are just going crazy now, because now we're starting to understand what the audience wants with a year of testing, literally a year of me going, maybe nobody cares what I have to say. Hey, we're not cut out for this, all that stuff. Yeah. And then the last month or so, it's been double. And so what I see in the next 3 months is we probably double again. And then three to 6 months after that, we double again. And we literally have at the end of this year, we should be at 100,000 people that are being affected by this but it's all the year. Everybody see me making videos that just sucked, wanting to quit, wanting to throw in the towel, wondering if it's me, asking myself, should I keep doing this? Why am I taking the time? It's all week I'm making stuff. And it's not working. People don't want it. So all of this to say that anything that you're going to do, it's going to take time for that, where you have to do the work in the dark to come out into the light and do a show like this.
And it's the snowball effect is what you're seeing now, is that you put in the work and you're like, oh, I don't see the result. I don't see the result. I don't see the result. Or it's very minute, where it's is this really even worth it? Is this even worth it? And you just keep doing it. And then all of a sudden, this is what you're seeing now, is everything's doubling and it's getting more and more. And it's not the last 3 months that you've seen all the growth. It was actually at the beginning is when you saw all the growth, but you didn't see it yet. It was there, but you had to go through that. And I think there always is that snowball effect. But you got to keep going. It's the same thing with the real estate. When we're building, me and my wife, we're building a community around people, and whether it's a lead source, and it doesn't matter. There's a snowball effect with Zillow leads. It doesn't matter. We're oh gosh, I remember our rep for Zillow. He's the worst agents are they put in $1,000 and they do it for a month and a half and then they quit. And you're well, yeah, because they thought they were supposed to close a bunch. And then what happens is it's in the follow up. And then all of a sudden you got in a year because you did your work. Now you got 12 closings in a month, and then it keeps going, it keeps snowballing. But it's the beginning part is where you're either going to win or lose, is not the end, because if you made it to the end, you already won, And so that's awesome, man. So we'll do a shameless plug here for your Instagram. What's your Instagram? I want to help that.
Oh, yeah, it's Bill Allen REI.
Bill Allen REI. Yep. Awesome. You're great with the challenges though, because I did do the 500K challenge, and then I did the 500K challenge. I was like, there is no way someone's going to give me 500K in 30 days, 14 days.
Nice.
It was 14 days, and I'm like, well, should I just keep going? And I was like, all right, that's kind of where I stopped. I was like, dude, but it's like those self-doubts though.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you stopped at 14 days, there's so much compounding that goes on. So you probably had like 4 million. The thing that like what creating that, it's like if somebody has the dedication to go live for 30 days, they're going to practice, they're going to find their voice, they're going to eventually get to a place of getting better and better and better, and realize like what people need and what people are looking for. Like, it's just about putting in the reps. And that compound effect, that compounding over time is what it is. Like, you'll see the fruits if you let it compound long enough. And that's where my net worth just started doubling and doubling and doubling. That's when social media, everything that you do, like you're seeing the compound effect over time. Yeah. But you have to put in the time upfront.
Got to pay your dues. That's what I always tell people. You got to pay your dues. And they're like, well, I'm making all these calls and I'm not getting anything. And I'm like, you will, as long as you keep paying your dues, and then eventually it will. But if you stop, it won't. And so that's what it is. People want to stop. And that's I think that sometimes, especially when you're coaching people, it's like you want to see them sometimes succeed more than they're actually willing to succeed and go through it. And that's sometimes the hardest part about it. But
well, that has to happen. So there's 3 things that have to happen in somebody to be successful, I think. Number 1, they have to believe in the product. So you're coaching product. They have to believe in that. So you have to get them to a point where they believe that your product can help them, right? That you can help. They have to believe in you, like that as the coach. Yeah. Right? Yeah. But then the hardest thing that I find in any real estate coach or any coaching period is they have to believe in themselves. And so sometimes when the coach believes in them, it's needed, right? Because somebody believes in them more than they believe in themselves, because their whole background and history might be nobody believed in me, and they have bad upbringing, that they ultimately don't believe in themselves. And so we have to put that inside of them. That we have to show them other successful people. We have to show them that it's possible. The cool thing about real estate is it doesn't discriminate. It doesn't matter if you have money, don't have money. Having money is obviously better. It's easier, it's faster. But it doesn't matter if you're, old, young. It doesn't matter the color of your skin. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. It just doesn't matter. Like, I've seen people that have no business on paper being successful in business because they didn't have like that perfect tools, right? They don't have money. They had bad upbringing. They are introverts. They're not salespeople, and they built massive businesses. And so anybody that walks through the door could do this. I'm 100% certain of that. Like, it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter your background. You got to have somebody that believes in you. You got to believe in yourself. And then you got to have something that hopefully makes you go faster. Like that tool, that thing that can just accelerate. And that's what coaching will do. That's what product will do, is it just helps you go faster.
I mean, I think that's where Jen and I decided, all 3 of those points are spot on, because we interviewed so many people. We're like, hey, we're getting in the investment game, and I stand by, the only way I see farther is standing on the shoulders of giants. I was like, okay, we got to find our giants. Who are they? And we interviewed so many people, and then we interview with you guys and be like, okay, this is the fit. And we knew that we believed in you. We're like, okay, this is way better than all these 4. They've done it. They have a system. It's not like, hey, we'll put you with somebody and we'll just meet and we'll kind of go over. Like, you guys have a awesome system that was like, just go. And we followed that to the T, which is our thing, is like, hey, we're also entrepreneurs, which is the entrepreneur brain is like, oh, I can make this better. And you're like, no. Follow it to the T, exactly the way they laid it out. And then once you're successful and you can prove that, then you can change it up. And so we did that. So we believed in it. And then it was like, it took a while for us to be like, can we actually do this ourselves? But we followed the system. And if the program's good and you follow the system, which I believe, that's why we were able to do. I mean, we started in didn't know anything about, I mean, we knew real estate, but it's like when you're doing flips and all this, I didn't know anything about constructions. I still, to this day, I tell people, I still haven't lifted a hammer on any flip. I still have not. I took a bunch of photos like this to show that I'm doing a flip, but it's all just about the strategies and things like that. So I think when we set out and we're like, hey, we're going to invest, that's what we're doing. We were investing in our future with you. Man, it just catapulted us. It really did, to the point of where, I mean, we did. And I think it was like 14 months. We did 14. We were doing a flip a month. We were literally doing a flip a month. And it was awesome. And so I can't thank you enough for that too, but you're spot on with that. Is you have to have a good system, and you got to believe in that. And I think you guys had the proof, which was the biggest thing. We went to a lot of people. They're like, yeah, we do 1 or 2, a month, and we can show you how to do this. And I went to, you're like, we've done 80 this year. And I'm like, oh yeah, we're going with you guys. Like that's the guy.
You said something that I think is really important for the people listening to do. It's to, when you pay for something and you see somebody else that has the success and the results, even if you don't pay for it, you got a mentor or somebody that you're shadowing or somebody that's going to let you in for free, whatever. And when they tell you to do something, you think that you know better, and you do like 60% of what they said and 40% of what you think.
Yeah.
And I see so many people do this. It's like, what are you even paying for? Like, why would you do that? There's a principle in like Kung Fu called Shu Ha Ri. So Shu is, and there are 3 different phases, Shu Ha Ri. And if somebody is like, and I hope it's Kung Fu, but I could be off too. So somebody's probably going to correct me in the comments or whatever. But Shu is the phase of just showing up and doing the same thing over and over and over again, without asking questions, with like just dedication. Like if you go back to the Karate Kid, when Mr. Miyagi's like, paint the fence, he's like, just go. He's like not asking questions, just doing it to build muscle memory, just doing that thing over and over and over and over again, without putting, just doing it over and over, same kick, same punch, over and over and over again, not knowing why. And then the Ha phase is like, okay, let's put some of these like tactics together. Let's put some of these things together where you're starting to understand what's happening and why and all these things. And then the Re phase is the area where you actually start evolving and developing your own opinions, and could potentially like eclipse the sensei or the person that's been training you, the mentor, right? You can actually get like bigger and better and start adding your own things in, just like you talked about. Yeah. So what a lot of times people want to go straight to that phase. They don't want to come in and do that like early Shu phase where it's like, you know what? You just got to put in the reps. You got to make some mistakes. You like just keep going. Same thing over and over and over again. They try to get fancy in the beginning. It's like, just do what I told you. I remember Andy, the first call I had with him, he's like, you got to hire somebody. I'm like, no, I'll just do it all myself. No chance. No, I'm not hiring anyone. I don't want to do that. That makes me scared. That's what makes me uncomfortable. No. Like you have the system, dude. Show me the system. Give me the system. And he was like, all right, well, just call me back when you're ready. Because I mean, right now you're having trouble doing one deal and you want to do 12. How's that even possible? You're flying full time, you're doing all this stuff. You got a kid and a new wife and all these things. And I said, all right, called him like a week later. I said, all right, just tell me what to do. And then from then on, he just broke me basically. So everything that he said, I just did it. And then eventually I started seeing success, like you talked about. I started seeing success. I started seeing the fruits. The roots were starting to create and bear fruit. And then I was like, okay, well, now maybe I can start like putting some things together or adding some things from a few of the other people in the group. And I did. Then I started kind of taking a little bit from here, a little bit from here, a little bit from here, and putting together these tactics and principles and strategies. And then eventually I would go test my own things, new ideas, new creative strategies. But I didn't get there. It took me like 2 or 3 years before I'd test my own stuff. And he used to always say to me, hey, Bill, let me test it in my laboratory because we have more money. We're doing more deals. Let me test it I'll tell you if it works after it works for me. But you don't go do this stuff yet, because if you spend money to do something new, it could break your whole company. Let me test it in my laboratory, then I'll tell you if it's working or not. And I was like, that to me is like, that's a great mentor that's going in and trying new things before they talk about it, And so that's kind of the way that I think about this stuff is if I'm paying for somebody to tell me what to do, I just walk in and like, I just assume that I don't know anything. So just tell me what to do and I'll do it. And so the strategy that we used on social media was somebody who built a $300 million company.
Yeah.
All on social media, organic and paid marketing. And so she laid out her exact principles for me in a class that I paid for. And I just did that. And anytime my team was like, hey, we should try this, I'm like, no. Like, that doesn't follow the model. Like, why are we doing that? It's not, it doesn't fit in. They were successful. This will work. They're like, oh, the algorithm is different now. I'm like, no, really not. I don't think it is. And so we just followed the model. And yeah, it took a little bit longer than expected, but now it's taking off. So I think everybody could learn from that, because if you knew what you needed to do already, you'd already be doing it. Like, you don't know. You don't know what you need to do.
That's interesting, because it's like, that's what the naysayers, when you're like, you don't see the success right immediately too. That's what they say is like, oh, well, it's different now. Or maybe you should, and like, to be able to be very stern on that and be like, no, we're gonna stick to this because we have a plan and set. And I usually I think we did this with 7-Figure too, of like, we were like, okay, 6 months. 6 months, if we don't see the fruit of this, we're testing it essentially, but it's not a test if I'm doing my stuff with it, right? So I'm like, oh, I'm going to take that and then I'm going to put my stuff on it. It's not really a fair test to any coaching or anything that you're trying to do, whether it's, Instagram, real estate, doesn't matter. Do what they say, and then you can truly say, not all coachings are created equal though. That's the thing, is that but you'll never know that if you're throwing your thing in there and then kind of doing it. And so I think that we did that, and we're just like, we're going to do exactly what Bill, exactly what the videos, exactly what it says. Like, I'm not going to create my own spreadsheet, which I think I actually started to, and I was like, I got to pull back, because I'll create a spreadsheet for anything, right? I'm like, for anything. How many gallons of water am I drinking a day? Doesn't matter. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. But I think that's a huge thing, is that you stuck to the plan with Instagram, even though maybe people were like, hey, this isn't working. And you're like, no, we're going to stick to it. And then you see the results at it. But that's a hard thing to do. I mean, that's probably years and years of doing those things to say, no, this is how it works. And it's about being disciplined. You got to be disciplined. Yes. And you also have to be committed. Like, I had to be so committed to the fact that would work, because it worked for somebody else and I've seen it. Like, I saw the results. I believed in her. I believed in her system, and I believed in myself. So I had the 3 beliefs, right? I had the 3 beliefs. And so what I had to do is I had to get my team to believe, because they weren't at the event. So I had to get them to believe in the process. I had to get them, and like, we had to go a different direction. Like, I just said, hey, you don't believe in it? Sorry. Like, okay, I'm going to find somebody who will. And so I'll tell you that the other piece is, like, for you guys, if you committed and just went, you got to go all in. You cannot do even 6 months. Like, this is the challenge that people have. We're such a now culture right now. Like, I have to have, you mentioned instant gratification, but we're such a now culture that we need the results like immediately. And so you're building a business. Like, is this a real business, or is this like a side hustle, or you're dabbling here? Like, if you're trying to build wealth for 10, 20, 30 years from now, and you're only going to put in 6 months, like, what? That's not fair. That's not fair to you. It's not fair to the coach. Yeah. Not fair to anybody. Like, it's true. When you start bringing people in, start thinking about, I want people to be thinking about 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road. And so if they're only coming in here for like a month or two, or I'm just going to dip my toe in, I know they're not going to be successful. Yeah. I know they're not going to stay, and I know they're not going to commit. And the second something is a little off from what they think it should be, they're like, oh, ejection seat, like, pull the handle, let's get out of here. And so I think, especially as you're starting to do coaching, bring people in, all that stuff, is you've really got to get long-term belief commitments from people that this is a long-term, like, you're investing for the future. Like, all the information that you learned, nobody can take that from you. Like, it's so incredible. So true. And I didn't have that belief in the beginning either. I like to pay in full for things. I like to pay, like, when I joined 7-Figure Flipping, when I was wet behind the ears, 2015, had no idea what I was doing. They didn't have an option for a payment plan. It was like $25K. I put on my Amex card. I didn't even know that the flip that I was selling and making 45 grand at the time couldn't close. Like, I was so, I mean, that thing could have fallen out of escrow, and then I had $25,000 charge on my credit card I wouldn't know how to pay for. So like, I like to do that because then I'm committed for the year, you know? True. So I think people out there,
we got to start making long-term commitments to something that we really want to change and develop, and not think that the results are going to be overnight, because that's where we quit.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if I didn't have a long-term belief that we were doing was right and everything that we're doing, that's where I waffle. That's where I kind of like fall off. That's where I'm not all in. Like when I have a personal trainer right now, I paid him for the year. Like, dude, I'll just pay you in full for the year, because I know that as you start making changes and I start getting a little bit fatter, I'm in that ugly duckling phase.
Yeah.
Like I am right now. I'm like, I'm going to fire you, man. Like, I just know that I'll fire you, and I'll go looking for somebody else. But we need long-term work I want to change my health. I want to change the way that I eat. I want to change a lot of things. Like I would have fired him 2 months ago if I didn't pay him full.
I mean, that's a great point to be able to, pay things like that, because it really does make you have that commitment to just moving forward, even though, like you said, like maybe you're going to have ups and downs, and whether it be your health or investments or anything like that, like it commits you to that. Be like, because you may have those lulls for a couple months, but you're like, you know what, I'm going to get back to it because I paid for this thing, and you go after it. So what are your guys' goals this year as far as with inside your business? What are you guys all looking to do this year?
So I have a few. I'll give you a couple of them. One is so our real estate business, like our flipping and wholesaling business, single family. I really am not involved in that company at all. I know that they want to do like $1.5 million of top line revenue, and really like they don't. I know that I don't know what their bottom line number is, and so I'm like a consultant in that business. I lend money when they need it, and they want to pay my rates. Things like that. I give them advice, but I built the company, and then I brought in a partner a couple of years ago, and he runs the business full-time day to day. And I am really like not involved, but I know they did a little over $1 million last year, and I think they want to stabilize, get profitable, be smart about the deals that they do. They're building amazing systems and processes around sales and marketing. So I'm really excited for that company. It's called Blackjack Real Estate. So I think their goals are probably somewhere around 60 to 80 deals this year, I would say. Would hit that, and at a 15 to 20K margin, mostly wholesaling, some flips sprinkled in there. Then I have a company called Seven Figure Flipping. It's the coaching company, information product company. Really, we have small, like we last year kicked our butt a little bit on the coaching business. I'm very open and honest with everything that I do. I was doing really well a few years ago, and really things changed a bit for us as a business. All the hotels were just crushing us since COVID on costs, expenses. We're a lot of live event businesses that, we do a lot of live events. So they just crushed us. So this year, like we did probably $8-9 million last year. Like I have a goal this year to do $5 million. So like less than I did last year. Bring it into a really like amazing community, amazing group. I'm building out these simulation and scenario-based training models that we do inside of the military and real estate. And I want to get really profitable again. I want to get the profitability back up. We have a great team. I had to lean out at the end of last year. I had to let 9 people go. That's not easy to do, especially when you have like 21 team members. It's almost half the team. And so I don't like doing that. And so that company, I want to get to a place where we know the folks in the group. We're, we got the right people in there. We've always known the people and had the right folks in the group, I feel like, but just, giving them everything that we can, making sure that the results are really great. And so just getting back to what we do, like the blocking and tackling, instead of really trying to grow and scale and all this stuff like everybody talks about. And then I'm building a software company. It's a live event software business. So we do live event registration, badge printing, networking. We do a lot of data analysis in that company. We built it for my live events, my big live events. And so we did a ClickFunnels event last year at Funnel Hacking Live in September. We've got a bunch of big events like Myron Golden's event in May, and another real estate event coming up. And people like Allison Maslin, we just did an event for her in LA. So some of the big like info product people, we're doing events for them on the front end side of badge printing, like, printing the badges, registration, that kind of stuff. It's really cool.
So that's just see like a need for that? Is that like you were kind of doing, and there was just like nothing out there, and you're like, man, there's a space here that we can maybe. Yeah,
so I needed it for my business. We were using a company called Boomset. They got sold about 2 years ago, and there really wasn't anything else on the market when they kind of phased out that did what we needed and wanted to do. And then I also run big live events. And so there's a tracking portion of this as well that I didn't have enough data at my events. And so I wanted to, it's really easy user interface. It's like iPad, print on demand. Like if you've ever been to a conference and there's like, it take it 30 minutes to get checked in. We checked in 5,000 people at Funnel Hacking Live, and there was never a single line once. We get people in 20 to 25 seconds, 100 to 125 people per station per hour. So move really fast, set up that experience is just game changing for an event like that. You're not, frustrated, upset, waiting in line for an hour. The name's spelled wrong. Then you got to go to help desk and all this stuff. Just providing a really great product there. And then there's some other cool stuff of like these QR codes that we have on them where you can like network and upsell some things. We have in-app upsells. So if you check in, you can like buy a VIP registration right there in the app. All really cool stuff to help.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Really, I've been doing events for like 8 years like this, and I want to help some of the other event planners and event hosts make more money, because what we found was our live events were starting to get squeezed in profitability big time. And so with this software, I feel like I can, and my strategies, I can help and consult with some of these other companies that I really love to bolt on to other people's companies and help them make a lot more money. So, I want to do about $1.5 million a top line in that business this year. Get about, get to like, 50, 60K a month and kind of grow and have more people learn about that company. It's called In the Room. So like, really be in the room and other people want to know.
Oh, I love that name though. I love that.
Oh,
name.
yeah.
That's
a great copywriter named it. Mastermind groups are so great. I was at a mastermind, like, I don't know what to call this. I was thinking, Eventrix was the name that I had for it. Event Metrics. I was like, this sounds like too much like dominatrix. I don't think it's gonna fly. And so I presented it.
It's great.
And dude, this woman goes, why don't you just call it In the Room? You just said it like 4 times. And she was like, you're the best copywriter on the planet. Her name's Yada Golden. She's an awesome copywriter. Has been writing emails for people forever, sales copy and stuff. She's a
god.
So
was that domain taken? That's paid
so
for it?
intheroom.com is taken. It redirects to like a nonprofit or something, or some we're trying to buy it, but we have we're currently working on our intheroom.live, I think is the site that we had to buy and end up buying. And we are I'm paying a lot of, we're strictly on SEO and networking right now, like just people finding out about us through word of mouth, and then building the back end SEO right now. So we're building out the website, but we have a domain that's www.intheroom.tech/home. Yeah. So that's like, we didn't want to put our main site up because it would start indexing it on Google and stuff. So in the you have to put the www for some reason. Intheroom.tech/home is the site that we have. That's like, somebody wants to do a demo or something.
We'll put it in the link though, because that's awesome. I mean, I love when you like see things that you're just like, there's a space for this, and it's just, I mean, that's any business, is your problem solving. Like you're like, there's a problem. We can figure this out, and then you did something. So that's awesome.
Well, the thing that I try to do is like, I try to solve problems that I have, and then I know that there might be a market for. So like, we built it for a year in the background using it ourselves, and then we're like, hey, maybe we could take this to market if people are interested and want it. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff that it does that is not worth talking about here. But if somebody does a live event, I guarantee we can make you more money than you're making right now. If there's a badge involved, or even if there's not, we're building out like a light version where if somebody has a RIA meeting or something like that and just wants more data, we can get people's phone numbers, emails, home addresses, answers to questions when they check in, and not have to print out badges. And so we're doing like a light version, and we're going to roll that out soon, where people could just put it on their own iPad and then use it for a subscription based, just a low cost monthly, because our events are somewhere like live events, we're in the thousands we have a $120,000 offer for the big events that if you're doing $3 million or more from stage, you'll want to talk to me, because I added, like we were responsible for $5 million in sales at Russell's event using our software. I probably helped him make between $500 and $1 million extra dollars. But we touched $5 million in his sales through text messaging, emailing, all kinds of really cool stuff back then.
So do you think, like, what's the big reason why the events are getting squeezed the last couple of years? Is it just hotel prices are just bumping everything up? Is that what it is?
Yeah, they lost a lot of money during COVID, so they're trying to make it all back right now. They're really tight requirements as far as room blocks and AV costs and stuff. It's just the food costs have gone way up, everything, and they're all blaming it on COVID still, which is ridiculous. Like the supply chain is not bad right now. You're full of crap. Like containers are down. Like all this stuff is not true. I just got a car from England over here. It arrives next Monday that I bought. That's shipping. Like you're full.
What car did you buy from England?
I bought a TVR. Have you ever heard of a TVR? Yeah. So I've been waiting for these cars.
Do you drive on the left or the right?
Yeah, the right side. Yeah, well, you drive on the left side. The right side of the car. So it'll be cool. It's a 2-seater. So it's like 2,000 pounds. It's really light. V8. It's no bumpers, like no airbags, no anti-lock brakes, no power steering. It's just all muscle, man. So I'm gonna drive it for a little bit and then sell it. And I might ship a couple more over here over time if there's a market.
That's so cool.
Kind of checking it out. I had one of these TVRs when I was over there at Tuscan. I had Tuscan. It was awesome. And so if anybody's ever seen the movie Swordfish, where John Travolta has the 2 guns and he's like shooting out of the T-tops in this weird looking car, that was a TVR Tuscan.
I know exactly what you're talking about now. All I got to say with that. Great movie.
So I have a Griffith. Now I have a TVR Griffith 500 that I'm bringing over here, but the Tuscans aren't 25 years old yet. So you can't get that car approved to come over here until it's a classic car at 25 years old. So if I brought over here like a 20-year-old car, they just like make me ship it back or crush it. So
that would be sad. Crushed it.
Yeah, so it's cool. I have a friend over there that loves cars, so he always like sends me links. So I said, let's try one. I'll put some money on it. We'll ship it over here. I'll drive it for a while and then try to sell it. We'll see what happens.
That's so cool. So as far as like with you're talking about 7-figure flipping and kind of what do you think you guys started? Because do you think like the big down was like the margins or the interest rates once they went up and kind of like all that? Is that why kind of like, you think people just not investing as much, or what are you seeing why kind of like the business, kind of drops a little bit? Was just because people just were getting out of the investment game, or?
I don't think that's true. I think there's a lot of things at play there. Number one, we were a business set up for a live event conversion primarily. So our event every October is designed to convert people into our world. And our entire focus and business model is like drive traffic to that event. And if that event does well, we do well. If that event doesn't do well, we might not do as well. And so, so there's a lot of factors. I think our business model was like, we didn't really have you got to have something that's a unique selling proposition, like a UVP, this unique value prop. Mm-hmm. And just there's a few things that happened over the last 3 or 4 years in the coaching business. One is there's just an unlimited number of coaches that have popped.
So many.
Like it's like masterminds, coaches. There's just thousands. Mm-hmm. When we got started, when I bought the company from my mentor like almost 5 years ago, it was like there were like 3 or 4 of us with a couple other like smaller coaching programs doing different things. But like these masterminds, real estate masterminds, there weren't like hundreds and hundreds of them. And so that made a massively saturated market. So strictly a supply and demand equation, every business is. And so when supply was way up, and even if demand stays the same or goes up slightly, you're still like fighting over the scraps of, whatever's left. And so we didn't have this unique mechanism either that was bringing people into our world that, you were comparing to other people. And so the person who's probably done this the best is Pace. Pace has probably done the best job of branding himself specifically under a unique value prop. So he's just all sub 2. Like when you hear sub 2, everybody's just like, oh, Pace Morby, right? He has really coined that, right? And so he has this unique prop. He also is like going live like every single day for 4 hours, like Sunday, 4 or 5 hours. Like he's a giver. He's in the community nonstop. And he's everywhere. He's on everybody's stage. He's all over. Like you can't get away from him. So he's done the best job. Now, I'm not willing to go live in my group for 5 hours on a Sunday. It's just like, that just doesn't fit the kind of business that I want to build. Like, I don't care how much money you pay me. I'm not going live on Sunday, or I'm actually not doing anything on Sunday for my business. Like, it's just I'm not willing to do it for who I want to be and what I want to do with my family and my faith and all that stuff. So, and I really don't want to go, I'll do events, I'll travel, I'll do some of that stuff. But even then, I still want to be home. I run a farm, I have a farm that I want to do $1 million in this year, want to serve like thousands of
I love you because like everything you're just like you're like on point with everything. You're like, I got a farm, I'm gonna do $1 million. But I love that you're holding strong to like the values that you have. Like to me,
yeah, I mean, you have to design. You got to design the business the way that you want. So, I think ultimately, to answer your question, it was the fact that our business model, we were running the same play, the same strategy over and over and over again with lesser and lesser results over time. And it just hit us in the head last October, where our live event didn't convert the way that I thought it would. We didn't get the right people in the room. We didn't have enough seats full, like all that stuff. And sure enough, at the end of the year, we're sitting there going, where's all the money? And we had to make a change. We had to pivot. We had to really make an adjustment to say, all right, like we tried this. We're trying to hammer a square peg in a round hole, and it's just not.
Yeah.
And so we had to make a change. So I would say the biggest thing that I would always, if you're a business owner or want to be a business owner, the thing you need to look at right now is, am I getting the results that I think that I should be getting? And if the answer is no, then take away all the things that you're assuming. Take away everything just assume that everything that you're doing is wrong. What if you could start over today and then figure out how to go that direction? So that's kind of what we had to do. I had to start questioning everything. Like just go. And most recently, in fact, I was like, why do we do this event in October? Like October is probably the worst time to sell coaching to real estate people because they're about to go to Thanksgiving. They're about to go to Christmas. The market slows up in the winter. And every year we've just been like, oh, that's the time to put in the work to learn and then build the foundation so that when the spring comes, you can take off. I was like, why don't we just do this event in the spring? Like, why? Because it's just always been in October. Like every year it was in October. I didn't even think about it. I was just like, that's when we do it. Like everybody, it is. And then how do you go a year and a half without doing it? So like, spoiler alert, this year in October, we're probably going to do our event in October, and I'm probably going to do an event in March or April. And just shift. I'm going to do like one in October, then I'll do one 6 months later, and then I'll only do it in March or April. And because that's the time where people are like, they're coming out, they're like, it's getting warmer, they're like ready to spend some money. They might have just got their checks from their taxes, and they're ready to make some, like all kinds of stuff, and the market's about to heat up. And it's like, it's a totally different message than let's put in the work in the dark to shine. Let's just get on with the party right now in March and April and get going. So everything that you're doing, just assume that it's wrong if you're not getting the results.
Love that.
And if you're getting the results that you want, what if you assume that everything was wrong? Like, hey, what are some things that you're just not thinking about, not adjusting, not changing? So that was it for our coaching business. I think it's an antiquated model. It's something that everybody has. We don't have anything that really stands out. I mean, we have 100% financing with some of the big lenders that really nobody else has, but that alone helped me out like ton.
Sure. Like that was that helped me out so much. So, I mean,
we got people that pay just for that, Yeah. But I mean, I really want people to pay to come into the community and be a part of it, and we're actually rolling out. I have a cool idea. I'm like, man, we got all these people like you guys. We got investors all over the country. Some of the biggest investors that started with 7-figure flipping, and they're not part of our community anymore. And I feel this distance and we're not connected. So I'll tell you right now, I'll be reaching out to you and a lot of the past members, the alumni, and we're doing something for you guys. Like we're gonna do an event, and this is the first I've ever talked about it, but in probably like September, October time.
That's how it's done.
Yeah, September, October time, we're gonna do an event where I'm gonna put together a killer event only for people who are in the community that were great people that were in there for a long period of time, invite only to come out to the office, and I'm gonna have an awesome event. And bring it back and try to build that community back up of alumni, because they're not with us. And I feel like it's like you go to college, you graduate from college, and then it's like, can you imagine like not wearing the shirt or not talking about it or not being part of it? Like I want people to cheer for the team. I want people to go to the games. I want people to get in fights with other people about how great their college was.
Yeah.
And so I want to build this alumni community that I've been thinking about for 2-3 years. And it's always been a scarcity thing. I always would be like, well, if we create that, the people that are in there, they won't keep paying. They'll go alumni, and it's like, you know what? That's fine. Like, I don't care.
I think there's a space for that though. I think there's a space, and there's always like I tell you, I think the same thing though with that is like, me and Jen, cause I'll like see your post and things like, I'm like, oh gosh, like I just miss being part of the group of things like that. We just have like our other things going. It's like some things take side and you're like, okay, cool, we're going this way. But we've talked about that plenty of times.
Well, I'll tell you right now, you're going to love it because that event is going to be something for people when they've graduated from the tactics of real estate, the strategy of real estate, and they want bigger business type stuff. I'm going to bring somebody in who's going to train on bigger business stuff that those folks need, because they're all doing different things. Some people are in software and real estate. Some people are, doing podcasting or whatever they're doing. They're marketing. They're become coaches. All that stuff is like, I just want to support our people however I can to grow their business, whatever it is now. Because it might not be like flipping houses anymore. It might not be wholesaling houses anymore. It might be coaching. It might be personal development. It might be speaking, from stage. And we bring in the skill set that I know that every single one of them needs, which in the beginning is probably marketing. And we train, I'm bringing a high-level marketer and pay him to be there. And we have a killer event for a day, probably 2 days, but one full day of like, we're doing that stuff, and just invite him over. Like, come on over.
Yeah, I think that, definitely keep me updated on that, because
I will.
Sounds awesome. That's
on
awesome.
my list. I got a list.
You're on my list now. I'm going to call you. You're on my list. We're on each other's list. Let's call each other.
Good.
Bill, thank you so much for coming here, man. It's been too long, and I'm looking forward to the alumni. Let's make that thing happen, and we'll have to do this again. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely. It was fun.
All right, man. You have a blessed day.
You too.